This is what happens when you lie about who you are.
The silk blouse tore with a sickening sound. Maya stood frozen in the center of the marble foyer, her arms wrapped around herself as fabric fell to the floor. Around her, a circle of faces watched, some sneering, some uncomfortable, all silent. Her mother-in-law, Patricia Lockwood, held the remnants of Maya's sleeve in her manicured fingers like a trophy. "This," Patricia announced, "is what happens when you lie about who you are." Maya's husband, Derek, stood near the staircase. Their eyes met for just a moment. She searched his face for anything: shock, anger, defense. He looked away. 3 years. 3 years of marriage, and in less than 10 minutes it had come to this. But what none of them knew, what Derek himself didn't know, was that the trembling woman standing before them wasn't the helpless orphan they believed her to be. And in exactly 47 minutes, their entire world would collapse. 6 hours earlier, Maya had woken before dawn to prepare for the weekly Lockwood family brunch. It was a ritual Patricia orchestrated with military precision, a display of wealth and status that Maya had learned to navigate by becoming invisible. She moved quietly through the enormous kitchen, knowing that Derek's parents and his brother's families would arrive by 9. The house itself was a monument to old money. Crystal chandeliers, oil paintings, furniture worth more than most people's annual salaries. The coffee smells burnt. Maya turned to find Patricia in the doorway, already perfectly styled despite the early hour. She looked at Maya the way one might examine a stain. "I just brewed it fresh," Maya said softly. "Would you like me to make another pot? I'd like you to learn basic competence." Patricia poured herself a cup, took one sip, and set it down with disgust. Derek could have married anyone. The Ashford girl, Catherine Wellington. She looked at Maya with cold assessment. "Instead, he came home with you." Maya had heard this for 3 years. In the beginning, she tried to win Patricia over. Nothing had ever been good enough. "The Harrisons are joining us today," Patricia continued. "Senator Harrison and his wife. When they arrive, you're to stay in the kitchen. I won't have you embarrassing us in front of important guests." After Patricia left, Maya stood alone, her hands gripping the counter. She took 3 slow breaths, a technique she'd perfected over years of maintaining composure. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the message. "Confirmed for 4 p.m. Everything is ready." Maya deleted it and began preparing fresh coffee. 6 more hours. By 11 o'clock, the dining room was full. Derek's older brother Thomas and his wife Jennifer had arrived, along with Derek's younger brother Michael. And then there were the Harrisons, Senator Richard Harrison and his diamond-draped wife Diane. Exactly the kind of powerful guests Patricia loved to impress. Maya had just served the first course when Jennifer made her move. "Maya, darling," she said, her voice dripping false sweetness. "I was at the Cartwright Gallery opening last week. I could have sworn I saw your name on a donor plaque. $250,000. But that can't be right, can it?" The table went silent. "You must have seen someone else's name," Maya replied calmly. "Strange, though, because it said Maya Lockwood." Jennifer's smile sharpened. "Derek, sweetheart, did you make a donation in her name?" "I didn't make any donation." Derek's face paled. He looked at Maya. "What is she talking about?" Maya set down the soup tureen carefully. "I made a donation. It's not a crime." The room erupted. "Where did you get that kind of money?" Patricia demanded, standing abruptly. "Did you steal from Derek?" But what Maya said next would make everything worse. "I didn't steal anything. I have my own money." Patricia laughed, sharp, bitter. "Your own money? You were a secretary when Derek met you. You showed up with nothing." She moved closer. "So where did you get $250,000? "I saved it." "You saved it." Patricia's voice dripped mockery. "From your secretary salary." "Over time, yes." "She's lying," Jennifer announced with glee. "Derek, she's obviously hiding something." "I want to see bank statements," Patricia cut in. "Right now. Prove where this money came from, or I'm calling the police." Derek finally spoke. Maya, just show her. If you have nothing to hide, I don't have to prove anything to you. It was the first time in 3 years Maya had directly refused a Lockwood demand. Patricia's face transformed into something ugly. How dare you? In my house, you will do as you're told, or you will get out. This is Derek's house too. I'm his wife. A wife we never approved of, Thomas interjected. A wife who apparently has secret money. Probably drugs, Jennifer suggested. I mean, how else does someone like her? Then Jennifer's phone chimed. She glanced at it, and her eyes went wide. Oh my God! What? The gallery press release. It says the new wing is named the Maya Chun Lockwood Contemporary Art Wing. Jennifer looked up, flushed with malicious triumph. Chen. Your maiden name is Chun. Maya's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Let me see that. Patricia snatched the phone. Her face went through rapid expressions as she read. When she looked up, something new flickered in her eyes. Not respect, but fear disguised as rage. Is this true? Is what true? Derek demanded. Before I continue, tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing your locations. Now back to the story. Patricia's hand shook as she held out the phone. Derek took it, read, and the color drained from his face. You told me your father was dead, he whispered. No, you assumed. I never corrected you. Your father is Richard Chun. The Richard Chun. Chun Global Holdings. Derek's voice went hollow. One of the 50 richest men in the world. The silence was absolute. What happened next, Maya would remember for the rest of her life. Patricia crossed the room and slapped Maya hard across the face. The crack echoed through the dining room. You lying bitch, Patricia hissed. You came into this family under false pretenses. You made us think you were nothing. I never said I was nothing, Maya replied, her cheek burning but her voice steady. You decided that on your own. You deceived my son. I loved your son. I married him because I wanted a normal life. A life where people cared about me, not my last name. Well, you failed, Derek said bitterly. Because this isn't love. This is, I don't even know what this is. Maya felt something crack in her chest. After 3 years of abuse, of humiliation, of swallowing her pride. This was how Derek responded. Not with understanding, but accusation. You're right, she said quietly. You don't know what this is. You never asked about my life before you. You saw what you wanted to see. Someone small enough to make you feel big. Derek's face flushed. That's not enough. Patricia's voice cut like a blade. I want her out. Derek, you'll file for divorce immediately. You'll claim nothing. The voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned. A man stood there, mid-60s, impeccably dressed, his presence filling the room. He had Maya's eyes, her cheekbones, her intensity magnified tenfold. Behind him stood 2 men in dark suits. Dad, Maya said softly. Richard Chun walked into the Lockwood dining room as if he owned it. Given his net worth, he probably could buy the entire estate with pocket change. Patricia Lockwood. His accent carried just a trace of his Taiwanese heritage. We've never met, though I've heard quite a bit about you. His eyes moved to Derek. And you must be the man who stood by for 3 years while his family abused my daughter. Senator Harrison stood quickly, recognizing the shift in power. Mr. Chun, I had no idea. Sit down, Richard. Chun didn't look at him. The senator sat immediately. Patricia recovered some composure. How dare you enter my home uninvited? Your home. Richard Chun smiled without warmth. Let's talk about that. This estate. Lockwood Manor. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, turned it toward her. As of 11 minutes ago, I own the mortgage on this property. The bank was very accommodating. Patricia's face went white. That's impossible. I also own controlling interest in Lockwood Industries as of this morning. Your board was eager to sell when I offered 40% above market value. He looked at Thomas. That makes you obsolete, I'm afraid. Thomas looked like he might vomit. But Richard Chun wasn't finished. As for you, he turned to Derek. I have investigators compiling a rather interesting report. The woman in Manhattan. The one you visit every Thursday when you tell Maya you're working late. Derek's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. You can't do this, Patricia managed. You can't just buy people's lives. I haven't bought anything that wasn't for sale. Your mortgage was in default. Your company was struggling. Your son was already a liar. He finally looked at his daughter. Maya, are you hurt? The gentleness in his voice, so different from the cold authority, finally broke through Maya's composure. Her hand went to her burning cheek. If you're still watching right now, you're exactly the kind of viewer I love. Subscribe so I can keep giving you stories that touch your heart. I told you not to come, she said quietly. I told you I could handle this myself. And I told you that no one touches my daughter. Richard's voice hardened. I gave you 3 years, Maya. 3 years to see if this family was worth your sacrifice. You asked me to stay away and I honored that. But I've been watching. His eyes locked on Patricia. And when I saw the security footage from this morning, when I saw you raise your hand to my child, I decided 3 years was long enough. Security footage? Patricia's voice was faint. Did you think Maya came here defenseless? Richard gestured, and one of the security men stepped forward with a tablet. This morning's assault is documented, as is every verbal attack, every cruelty, every instance of abuse over 3 years. You've been recording us? Jennifer went pale. Protecting myself, Maya said, her voice stronger now. I hoped I'd never need it, but hope isn't a strategy. Derek found his voice. Maya, please. I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't ask. Maya's words cut deep. You didn't know because you enjoyed having a wife who seemed grateful for your attention. You didn't know because knowing would have required seeing me as your equal. I did see you as. You saw me as someone beneath your family, someone who should be thankful to be a Lockwood. And when they treated me like garbage, you said nothing. She paused. My father taught me that silence is a choice. You chose their cruelty over my dignity. Every single time. The room went still. Richard checked his watch. We should go. Your lawyer will handle the rest. Her lawyer? Derek's voice cracked. One of the best in the state. She'll be in touch tomorrow. Richard smiled coldly at Patricia. As for the estate and company, my team will contact you about transition plans. 30 days to vacate the property. You're destroying us, Patricia whispered. No, you destroyed yourselves. I'm simply ensuring consequences. He placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. The difference between people like you and people like me, Patricia, is that I actually value my family. Not their performance, not how well they reflect on me. Their humanity. He paused. You had something precious. Someone who loved your son despite having no reason to need him. And you treated her like trash. That's not my cruelty. It's yours coming home. Maya turned to Derek one last time. For just a moment, she remembered the man she'd fallen in love with 4 years ago. The one who'd seemed kind, who'd made her laugh. That man had either never existed, or he'd been buried under his family's expectations. I really did love you, she said softly. I wish that had been enough. Derek's eyes filled with tears. Maya, please, I can change. No, you can't. Because changing would mean valuing me more than your family's approval. And if you were capable of that, you would have done it years ago. She walked toward the door. At the threshold, she paused and looked back at Patricia. You asked me why I didn't tell you who I was. The truth? I wanted to see if you could love someone without their money, without their name. If the Lockwood family values meant anything beyond your bank account. She smiled sadly. Thank you for answering that question. Maya Chun walked out of the house that had been her prison. She didn't look back. 3 months later, Maya sat in her father's Manhattan office, reviewing plans for a women's shelter. The divorce had been finalized quietly. The Lockwood estate had been converted into a nonprofit center for financial literacy and women's entrepreneurship. Patricia had moved to Florida. Thomas worked at a mid-level firm. Derek had disappeared from social media. Maya didn't follow their lives. She'd moved on. Your mother would have been proud, Richard said. The way you handled that. Maya smiled at the mention of her mother, who'd passed 10 years earlier. She would have told me to leave after the first insult. Probably. But she also would have understood why you stayed. He hugged his daughter, something he did rarely, but fiercely. Love makes us vulnerable. That's not weakness. That's courage. Even when it's wasted? Especially then. Because it means you're still capable of hope. Maya returned to her architectural plans. She had work to do. Shelters to build, programs to fund, women to help who were trapped like she'd been. The Lockwoods had taught her that power was neither good nor evil. What mattered was how you used it, and she intended to use it well. On a Tuesday in September, Patricia Lockwood stood in the empty great room of what had once been her estate. The furniture was gone, the paintings removed. Even the 4-generation-old crystal chandelier had been taken down. In 3 days, the building would open as the Chun Foundation Center for Women's Advancement. Patricia had received an invitation. She didn't know if it was kindness or cruelty. Footsteps on marble made her turn. Maya stood in the doorway, dressed simply in jeans and a sweater, looking more confident, more herself. I didn't think you'd come, Maya said. Patricia tried to summon her old dignity. It wouldn't come. I wanted to see what you'd done. What we've done. This isn't revenge, Patricia. It's transformation. It feels like revenge. I'm sure it does. But if I'd wanted revenge, you'd have nothing. Instead, Thomas has a job. Derek has his freedom. You have enough to live comfortably. Maya paused. Because destroying you would have made me like you. And I spent 3 years refusing to let you change who I am. Patricia felt something break inside. I taught my sons that family was everything. That we had to maintain appearances. Maintain our place. She looked at Maya. But I never taught them how to love someone. And because of that, Derek lost the best thing that ever happened to him. Yes, Maya said simply. He did. Do you hate us? Maya considered seriously. No. Pity you. You had every advantage and used it to feel superior instead of becoming better. That's sad, Patricia. Patricia had no response. Maya moved toward the door, then paused. The opening ceremony is Thursday at 2. You're still invited. A place where women who've been made to feel small can learn to stand tall. Where they can discover they were never small at all. Thursday came. Maya gave a short speech about second chances and starting over. As it ended, she noticed a figure at the back. Patricia Lockwood in a simple navy dress, watching from a distance. Their eyes met. Patricia didn't smile. Maya didn't wave. But Patricia nodded once. And Maya nodded back. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't friendship. It was simply acknowledgement. Maya turned to the women gathered around her. Women with stories and scars and strength waiting to be discovered. This was her purpose now. Not proving her worth to people who refused to see it, but helping others recognize the worth they'd always possessed. The Lockwoods had tried to strip her of everything. Instead, they'd stripped away pretense, leaving only truth. 3 years of humiliation had taught her patience. 3 months of freedom had taught her power. But this moment taught her peace. Maya didn't smile. She didn't need to. If you've ever been underestimated, betrayed by someone you trusted, or had to walk away from people who couldn't see your worth, drop a comment below. Your story matters. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about justice, revenge, and people who refuse to stay silent. See you in the next one.